50,000 Canadian dollars. That's the whole price. Not the deposit, not the down payment, not what's left on the mortgage. That is the entire asking price for a place with 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a patch of Saskatchewan dirt around it that's yours. And before you tell me there has to be a catch, and there is, I'll be straight with you about every one of them. Let me give you a number to hold on to. Saskatchewan is bigger than France. There are barely more than 1 million people in the whole province, and most of them are packed into 2 cities. Out past that, the land just keeps going. Flat, quiet, open. And for every soul who packed up and left a rural town behind, there's something like 250,000 acres of country sitting there. The listings won't show you that part. They show you the city. They show you what pays the commission. I've spent years now reading the lists the realtors don't put on the front page. The acreages, the cabins, the hunting shacks nobody bothers to advertise. And what I keep finding is the same thing. The cheap land in Canada isn't gone. It's just been quietly filed where the average buyer never scrolls. So hit subscribe and come down this list with me. Today I'll show you 5 places in Saskatchewan where the price tag just doesn't make any sense. All of them under 80,000 Canadian dollars, every figure straight off realtor.ca and Century 21 farmland. Now, one honest word up top, because I won't pretend with you. These aren't grand prairie farmhouses with a red barn and 40 head of cattle. A real working farm in Saskatchewan starts up around 120,000. I checked. What's down in this price band is smaller, stranger, and a lot more interesting. Tiny houses, lease cabins, a hunting shack with no bathroom at all. The number 1 on this list is the cheapest of the lot, and it's the one I'd actually go look at. But we work our way down to it. We start at the top. Number 5. Carievale, down in the far southeast corner of the province, almost close enough to wave at Manitoba and North Dakota at the same time. This one is the outlier on the list, and I put it first on purpose because it's the most normal house you'll see today. North of Carievale there's an acreage going, according to realtor.ca and Century 21 farmland, for 79,900 Canadian dollars. 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, 901 square feet of actual finished living space, sitting on its own piece of land. Stop and sit with that for a second. 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, the kind of place a small family could move into and not feel like they're camping, for under $80,000. In most of the country that money buys you a parking spot. Here it buys you a roof, 4 walls that hold heat, and the room to breathe. So what's the catch? It's the corner it's standing in. Carievale is tiny and it is remote. You're a long drive from a hospital, a longer drive from anything you'd call a city, and the southeast corner in January is wind and white, and not much else. Picture grain bins on the horizon, a gravel road running dead straight to a vanishing point, and a town with one main street where half the storefronts have their blinds drawn for good. The land out here is emptying, slow and steady. The grain still moves, but the people are thinning. That's not a tragedy on the listing. That's the whole reason the number is what it is. Cheap follows quiet. And carry that 900 square feet in your head, because it's the biggest house on this list. Everything from here down gets smaller, and the smaller it gets, the stranger the deal gets, all the way to the one I keep telling you about. But if a real little house is what you're after, the Carievale place is the floor of the ordinary market. Now watch what happens when we stop asking for a real little house, and start asking for something off the grid entirely. Number 4, a cabin up north, and this is where the list starts to get honest with you about what cheap really costs. The Pifer North cabin is listed at 70,000 Canadian dollars, according to realtor.ca, Century 21. Farmland carries it under MLS number SK024650. It's a cabin in the bush, the kind of spot people drive hours to reach, so they can hear absolutely nothing. Trees, water, sky. No neighbours arguing through the wall because there is no wall to share. Here's the part the headline skips, and I promised I'd be straight. This one isn't a house in the ordinary sense. No listed bedrooms, no bathroom on the sheet. And, more to the point, it's a lease. You're not buying the land underneath it the way you'd buy a town lot. You're buying the cabin and holding the ground on terms. That changes everything about what you actually own when the dust settles, and it's exactly the kind of detail the cheap property videos love to leave out. So why would anyone pay $70,000 for a cabin they don't fully own the dirt under? Because what you're really buying is access, a foothold in country that, bought outright, would cost you many times this. Think of the timber walls, the wood stove ticking in the corner, the dock running out into water so still it doubles the trees. That's the picture you're paying for For some folks, that trade is mad. For the fellow who just wants somewhere quiet to land in summer and doesn't care whose name is on the deed forever, it's the cheapest door into the north there is. I know that sounds like a strange thing to want. For a lot of people up here, it isn't. One more thing on the lease, because it matters more than the photos. A lease has terms, and terms have an end. Before you'd ever hand over $1 on a place like this, you'd want to know how long the lease runs, what it costs you a year, and what happens to that cabin when the term is up. The 70,000 number is only half the story. The other half is written in the fine print, and nobody reads it to you. I'm reading it to you now. Now, if the lease cabin felt like too much of a gamble, the next one is something you own outright, and it's nearly as cheap. But it comes with the most blunt drawback on the whole list, and I mean blunt. Number 3. The rural municipality of Hudson Bay, up in the east of the province where the prairie gives way to forest. And no, before you ask, it's nowhere near the actual bay, that's just the name of the town. Up here there's a hunting shack going for 69,000 Canadian dollars, listed on realtor.ca under MLS number SK025485, 500 square feet, 2 bedrooms, and, read this slowly, 0 bathrooms, none. Not a half bath, not a powder room, nothing with plumbing. That's the trade laid bare. You get land in hunting country, a structure you own free and clear, 2 rooms to sleep in, all for less than $70,000. But you'll be hauling water, and your toilet's going to be an outhouse, or a plan you haven't made yet. For a hunter who wants a base to come back to in the season, that's not a flaw. That's the spec. He doesn't want plumbing, he has to drain every freeze-up. But here's where I want you to be careful, because this is the line the cheap land hustlers cross. A shack with no bathroom isn't a home you move into, it's a project. The 500 square feet is the easy part. The well, the septic, the heat that holds through a 40 below night. That's the bill that doesn't show on the listing, and that's the bill that turns a $69,000 dream into something a lot more honest. I'm not telling you not to, I'm telling you to run the numbers before you fall in love. And speaking of running the numbers, if you've made it this far down the list with me, you already know more about the real Saskatchewan market than most people who'll ever scroll realtor.ca. So, do me one favour, hit subscribe, and let's keep heading down this list together because the last 2 are the ones that made me sit up. They're proper little houses with bathrooms with land, and they're the cheapest of all 5. Number 2. The rural municipality of Kellross, number 247, out in the gentle middle of the province where the towns sit far apart and the sky does most of the talking. This is the JM Acreage, and it brings us back to a real little house. 60,000 Canadian dollars, according to realtor.ca and Century 21 Farmland, MLS number SK039926. 2 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, 618 square feet, on its own acreage. So now you're not roughing it. There's a bathroom, there's a bedroom for you, and 1 to spare. 618 square feet isn't big, but it's a snug 4-season size. The kind of footprint that's cheap to heat when the cold comes down, and out here the cold comes down hard. For $60,000 you own the house and you own the ground it stands on. No lease, no asterisk. The catch on this one is softer, and it's the catch on the whole region. It is far. Kellross is rural, municipality country, gravel sections, a grid of fields, a grain elevator standing like a lighthouse over flat land. You're not popping to the shops, you're planning a trip. Groceries, fuel, a doctor, all of it is a drive. And in a Saskatchewan winter, that drive is a thing you respect because the snow doesn't ask whether you needed to be somewhere. The town nearest you is shrinking, not growing. The school's gone, the bank's gone, and what's left holds on by stubbornness. But that's also exactly why the house is 60,000 and not 300. If what you want is your own walls, your own dirt, and a heating bill you can actually pay on a pension, this is about as clean as the deal gets. Almost. Because there's one more. One that's a real house with a real bathroom on its own acreage, and it's the cheapest thing on this entire list. This is the one I told you we were working toward. Number 1. The rural municipality of Shellbrook, number 493 up toward the parkland in the centre north, where the flat prairie starts breaking into trees and lakes. This is the Cookson Acreage, and here's the number I opened with, 50,000 Canadian dollars. That's the whole asking price, according to realtor.ca and Century 21 Farmland, MLS number SK034925. 2 bedrooms, 1 full bathroom, 624 square feet, on its own acreage. Owned outright. Let that one land. For $50,000, less than a lot of folks owe on a pickup truck. You get a 2-bedroom house with a working bathroom, a little more floor than the number 2 place, and a piece of Saskatchewan to stand it on. No lease, no missing toilet, no hunting shack asterisk. A door you can lock behind you that's actually fully yours. So I'll be straight about this one too, because I always am. Shellbrook country is parkland, prettier than the Bald Prairie, but it's still remote. Still a real drive to a hospital, still a place where winter is the boss for half the year. 624 square feet is a cottage, not a manor. You and one other person and a dog will fill it, and a $50,000 house is a $50,000 house. Somewhere in that price is a roof you'll want to look at and a furnace you'll want a man to check before the first frost. Cheap is never free. It just moves the bill to where you can see it coming. But that, right there, is the whole point of this list. The Cookson place isn't a misprint and it isn't a scam. It's what a small, plain, honest house costs in a part of the country that the listings would rather you forgot was there. The number is public. You can pull up that MLS yourself tonight. And that's the thing I keep coming back to. Saskatchewan is bigger than France, with barely 1 million souls in it, and 250,000 acres of quiet for every person who ever left a small town behind. The realtors will show you the city, because the city pays the commission. They won't show you the $50,000 house in Shellbrook, or the little acreage out in Kellross, because there's no money in pointing you at the cheap door. But the cheap door is still there. The numbers are public. You can check every one of them yourself, MLS by MLS. What the listings show you isn't the whole country. There's a way out there, in the corners and the parkland and the rural municipalities nobody films and folks are already taking it. So go see it with your own eyes and come back and tell me about it. I'll see you down the road.